Welcome to the creative brain of Dean Hawk. Get ready to be challenged, inspired, and equipped to become a better ministry leader.
Hey guys, hope everybody's having a good day. This is Dean.
Hey, this is Mike.
And what are we talking about today, Mike?
I'm not sure. It's totally up to you. We're going to kind of unwrap something, and hopefully we don't get too controversial, but what are you thinking? What's in that head of yours, Pastor?
The biggie I want to hit on is the whole altar call, invitations. Do we do them? Do we not do them? And the biggie is, how do we do them? Because I'm very opinionated on this.
In a lot of things. But the thing
thank you.
Hey,
Thank you very much.
The thing that blows my mind is I didn't even realize this because I only went to 2 churches my whole entire life. Not everyone gives altar calls.
A lot of people do not give invitations
at all
to accept Christ.
At all. Not outreach events, people will find Jesus on them. So tell me, here at Rock, and then in your mind, how often do you give an altar call? Is it just during outreaches? Is it you know that there's people that need Jesus in the seats?
I'll put it this way: I go fishing every weekend. Fishing is a habit. So we go fishing every service. Every time we have a service, we give an invitation to accept Christ. And so what that does is, here's what it does, is it builds and it's what we want, is we want to build within our people an assurance that if on today or on this Saturday at the barbecue, my mother-in-law says, my brother, my nephew says, I'll go to church with you tomorrow, I don't want him to wonder, this is the one chance to give them Jesus, and they're going to be there. I hope the pastor gives an invitation today. Because some guys say, well, I do it when I'm led by the Spirit. I take the attitude of, I don't need the Holy Spirit because Jesus said, go into all the world and preach the gospel, that he's the life, the way, the truth, and the life. And so I take the premise that we are reaching our community, and I'm depressed if we don't have a sinner in a service. So I expect every service to have a sinner in the house, and we want to lead him to Christ.
So I've been fishing, and I don't like it at all. So sometimes you go fishing and you don't catch nothing.
Exactly.
So a little challenging? I mean, you said you get a little upset.
Yes. Well, the staff knows on Tuesdays, as you do, that if we go through 5 weekend services and nobody got saved, I'm searching within. Search me, oh God, where is my sin?
So do you think pastors aren't giving altar calls because they're worried that, hey, they didn't sell it enough, people aren't coming to Jesus, that they're failing?
I think the thing I had to overcome was the ego pride thing, because if you are the Billy Graham, if you are, I grew up watching Billy Graham crusades, and he gives a simple invitation and stadiums empty out. And I think in the back of our little pastoral brains, we feel like a failure if we give an invitation and no one accepts Christ. And I still struggle with that, and especially our early service. I don't know if anybody else struggles to give an invitation in the early service, but I can tell you consistently we will see, 1 or 2 here or there, it's not massive numbers,
true.
We will see people get born again as we give that invitation. Now, I will tell you, more sinners come to the late service, our 11:30 service, and I would say hands down, more people get saved in the last service of our day.
So every service, every time people are meeting, you're going fishing, there's an altar call taking place.
Yes. But here's the big thing I want to talk about today is when I started the church years ago, I wrestled, but now I can choose. I'm the head guy. I'm in charge.
It's your decision.
And so I began to try the various models of fishing. And so I did would everyone just repeat this prayer? So if there's a sinner there and they pray the prayer. Then we did the every head bowed and every eye closed, and slip your hand up. Slip that hand up, and then would everyone repeat the prayer? And then we did the, hand up or come down forward. And I felt like Cinderella or the prince trying to find the Cinderella that the slipper fit. And finally, I went back to my youth ministry roots and said, we're going to walk them through the front door, not the back door, the side door, or the doggy door. We're not going to sneak them into heaven. Shh, no one will see or know who that hand is. Only me and Jesus will know. Well, that's not what Jesus said. He said, boldly confess me before men, and I'll boldly confess you. So that's what's led us to our model that we've done for years and years.
So paint me a picture. End of service, you just finished a message. How do you do it different than other people? Because I've seen everything you just said. I've seen it. I've heard about it. Then, come to the front, the whole deal. So what does it look like? How do you do it?
Well, let me hit this. Whatever you're going to do, whatever model you choose, make it clear, plain, and upfront what you're going to do.
Do you change it?
No. One of the things that bugs me is when pastors, trick them. Like they lift your hand, no one will see it and know. And then that's all they know. The guy's going, I raised my hand, good, I'm good. And then the pastor says, now, if you raised your hand, step out on the aisle and come forward. And they're like, whoa, you didn't tell me that was happening.
But he's staring at you at that time.
Yeah,
too,
and
so
then
he saw
sometimes
you.
I've seen ministers go, you, sir, right there. I saw you. And it's like, holy cow, oh my gosh. So this is the model we use. Here's what, well, before I get into the what, let me tell you the why. Too many pastors are the only ones that lead people to Jesus in their church. Over and over again. What does the pastor do? Pastors, everyone repeat this prayer. He is leading or she is leading them to Jesus.
Which is one of the most exciting things to do.
It is a birth. Giving birth is the biggest miracle. Or the individual come down front to the altar and the pastor will lead them to Jesus. Right. Nothing wrong with that. Praise God, the kingdom's growing. I saw Jesus said, when the disciples said, why are you leaving, Master? He says, it's expedient that I go away, because when I go away, the Comforter will come, and you'll do the works that I did in greater works. I don't know greater in caliber, but greater in quantity, because I'm going to reproduce you. But I think we as pastors have tried to be Jesus. And we are the only ones that can lead people to Jesus. So I saw that it was limited if the whole church is relying on me to lead people to Jesus. And here's what I saw. Pastors, you see this all the time too. When you start to give the invitation, your people check out. They are ducking out to get to the nursery first. They're ducking out to get out of the parking lot.
Packing up their purse.
Yeah,
they're
going, and pastors, please don't move, please don't move. The only people that I see move in our invitation I know there are key leaders or staff members, and I know what their assignment is doing, and they're slipping out because I know the tasks they're doing. Our general body doesn't stay. And so I chose, instead of me fishing, me throwing the net, me pulling the line, me pulling them in, I give the invitation, and I rally every single church member to help pull the net in to the boat. And that means we do not have an altar care team. We do not have a new believers prayer team.
You have a room? Do you have a room?
We do not go to the room. Talk about the room. You have nightmares of the room.
I just thought it was funny. If you go to church for the first time and you're sitting there and then the back door, you trick and you're raising your hand. Then they say, hey, follow the guy in the full suit over there and you're like in sandals. And go to the room. Like, who wants to go to the room that they
What's
don't know
in the room?
What's in the room? I did youth ministry forever, and I know the kids were like, I'm good. I'm not going to a room. I don't know you. Can I take my friend? My friend doesn't even want to go to the room. Why would I want to go to the room?
Stranger danger. Don't go any place with a stranger.
Totally. And on the inside, you're already going crazy because you feel the Holy Spirit all over you. I'm going to go to the room? So you don't have a room?
No, we don't have a room. So I chose to empower every single believer, whether you're a member, a tender, and I am fully confident and comfortable with an absolute guest leading someone to Christ.
What? Wait. So a guest could be qualified to lead someone to Jesus? You don't even know them.
I don't even know them.
Come on now. I don't know them.
I don't know them. Here's
no tie, no Bible in
tie.
hand.
Yeah. So here's what we do. If I could lay it out, let me just. I take the bold, in your face mindset of I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to walk you right into it, and I'm going to tee up the ball for my members.
Okay.
And I've set the ball up, I've calmed the wind, and I said, all you have to do is be the ball. So here's the way we go. If you're listening, taking notes, turn on your thing, have your staff listen to this. Here's what I do. And pastors, before you hear this and go, oh, I'm going to do that Sunday, don't do it this Sunday. We'll get into how to prep for this. When I get done with my message, give the ministry time, I'm done with the ministry, whatever topic, usually I'm praying in that time. If we're praying over marriages or praying over whatever situation, closing out the service, I say amen. And then I say, every head up, every eye open, everybody looking around. I want to talk to everybody in the room.
And stand up.
My group's already standing because when I finish the sermon, I say, hey, everyone stand. So we pray and minister. And so they're already standing. And so I say, everybody looking around, nobody moves. I don't even really say that much because our people don't. And then I begin to present the invitation that I feel like we're supposed to cover that day. And I would challenge pastors and ministers, invitations become stale and stagnant and moldy cheese when you just do exactly the same. Now, people will come and say, he pretty much does it the same. What they don't realize is my 2-minute intro is tagged to the sermon, tagged to an illustration. I'm pulling in what I just shared to connect the dots on why they need Jesus. So
you're pulling the cord at the very end to put it all together.
So I'm casting the net and I'm saying, here's why you need Jesus. If you're going through a difficult time, I present the problem is the way I would put it. Your life's not where you want it to be. And so then I present the problem, present the answer is Jesus. He's the only way. I talk about your works and I give the normal invitation. Here's where the why in the road, I detour massively, is I tell them this. Here's what's going to happen. If you're starting new or you need a do-over in your walk with God, you've not been living for God like you should, I'm going to count to 3. And when I hit 3, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand. And yes, everyone's going to see it and know it. Now, before I get to that point, I got ahead of myself because usually I want to technically warm up the crowd to this simple action. This simple action of, oh yeah, that is not a
and
weird
that's raising
action.
the hand. If you can't see us right now.
Oh, that's right.
Hand.
I realize that some might be listening versus watching.
Putting your hand up.
Thank you for that clarification. And so putting your hand up, and so I'll do this. How many of you have ever sinned, blown it, or made a mistake? And then I'll tease, and everyone puts their hand up. Then I'll talk about the need for Christ, that we've all messed up. So many times in invitations, the person is made to feel that they're the weird one, or the enemy does, not that we as a church do. The enemy says, you're the only one in here that has ever messed up. And I want them to get to feel comfortable that, yeah, we've all blown it. And so, yes, who's all missed it? And then I want them to get comfortable with raising their hand on, I want an answer. So I'll reach for my wallet and I'll go, who would like a $100 bill? And all the hands go up. And or I'm giving away a new car today. Who would like a new car? In other words, if you want something good, raising your hand is not like taboo or you're weird. It's simply saying, I want some. And so I've set them up for that. So then I coach them and I say, okay, I'm going to go to 1, 2, 3. I'm going to have you raise your hand. And when you raise your hand, tell them what's going to happen. And so this is the way I put it. When your hand goes in the air, and I'm really coaching my church, I'm reminding my church, remember what we do when somebody raises their hand to get saved. When you raise your hand, this place is going to go crazy. People are going to begin to clap, cheer, shout, and whistle because one of the most exciting things we can do is lead someone to Jesus Christ. Right. And there is not a greater honor that we have than if you would choose to accept Christ today that you would raise your hand. This place is going to go wild. You're going to get a hero's welcome and a champion's reception. And Super Bowl, by the way, who won the Super Bowl this year? Denver Broncos. Just wanted to reiterate that. Reiterate that. And I said, bigger than a Super Bowl celebration, this is going to be for you and about you. And so then I set it up, and then I tell them, when you raise your hand, you don't need to move. A member, a believer is usually what I say. A believer is going to come, and they're going to lead you in a simple prayer, and you'll have a relationship with Jesus.
And this is the anybody in the crowd.
Everybody is equipped to reproduce. We have sterile Christianity is one of the biggest problems in the body of Christ. The number of believers in our church, yes, sterile, I said it, sterile Christianity. The number of believers in our own church that have never led someone to Christ. I'll pick on years ago, had a woman. It was coming up to Easter Sunday. I prepped my church. You're going to lead someone to Jesus this next week on Easter Sunday. Be ready for your row, your section. And pastors, I'm constantly beating this down the throat. Are you ready to lead someone in your row, your section? Are you ready to do this? And Easter Sunday in the lobby, she comes up to me. She's in her early 60s. She's attended Bible college decades ago. She has been a believer for 40 years, and she came up with a glow in her eye, teardrops in the corners, and she said, "Pastor, today I led my very first person to Jesus."
Wow. Christian her whole entire life and never led anybody.
She didn't know how. Christians are intimidated. And so here's what I say. If I can't get my people to lead someone to Jesus, when I've already got the person going, I want him, my hand's in the air, I want Jesus.
In church,
in a safe environment, they're never going to lead someone to Jesus outside these walls.
Yep.
They're never going to do it when someone in the cubicle is going, I'm having a rough time. They're never going to lead them to Jesus there. So I see church is a training ground so that all of our believers can lead them to Jesus. I remember just 3 months ago, a woman came up. She was ecstatic. She said, I was so afraid. I was so intimidated. I didn't think I could do it. But when someone raised their hand, I looked around and there was no one else. And I had to. And she said, I'm ready to do it again. We have people now that literally will climb over rows of chairs. They're so excited to lead someone to Christ.
Contagious.
It is.
So hand goes up.
Yes.
So walk me through.
Hand goes up.
Hands goes
I
up.
go 1. Are you ready to accept Jesus? And then I tell them. This is another piece I do, pastors. I tell them I'm going to count to 3, and you will raise your hand.
I like that.
It's a faith statement.
Yeah.
And I always tease. What do you can't make me raise my hand? I said, no, I can't. But I know that you want it. Yeah. And I know that it's just the enemy, the devil's going to try and keep you in darkness. And so you're going to raise your hand. I believe that. What are we saying? I believe the best about you. Yeah. I don't believe you're a dirty, rotten sinner. I believe you want Jesus. I believe you're going to respond to this amazing gift that we're presenting. And so then I'll do the 1, I'll pause. Are you ready? 2, come on. Whether anybody else in this room does it, it's all about you and Jesus. 3, raise your hand. And I'm telling you, here's what I got to be. I almost want to have a plant. I won't do it. I haven't done it. I almost want to plant, because if we can get 1, it's popcorn after that. Yeah. And so, but even there are many services, we'll just have 1 person, and my church just claps and cheers, and it's just an amazing experience. And so then what happens is, I always tell them, men to men, women to women. Got a little weird, just with men to men, women to women. Well, obviously, if everybody's on their A game, there'll be 3 or 4 guys show up to lead Mike to Jesus. And so the way we coach them is, 1 person takes the lead. They introduce themselves. Hi, my name's Dean. I'm here to pray for you.
Big embrace, hugging.
No, hugging. We have to think like the outside the church world. Just shake their hand. I'm here. Introduce yourself. I'm here to lead you. And then here's what we do. would you bow your head and close your eyes? That's where you bow your head and close your eyes in reverence to the Lord, not to sneak into heaven.
Because we're going to say a prayer.
We're going to lead a prayer. I want to lead you in prayer. Would you close your eyes with me and repeat this prayer after me? The other guys that have gathered are going to say the prayer out loud with Mike, the candidate that's getting saved. But here is the joy. You say, well, how do your people know what to say? And how do you make sure they're knowing what they're doing? Thanks for asking that question, Mike.
That's what I was going to say.
On all of our screens across the front of the auditorium, and I literally tell our people, he's got his eyes closed. Now you cheat and look up at the screen, and it's line by line. Dear God, forgive me of all my sins.
And then, dear God, forgive me.
And they're coaching. I said each line is one breath, one statement. I said, you don't have to be hyper spiritual. Just look at the screen. And then when they're done praying with them, we give them a New Testament, a little getting started cards in there. And then we challenge the person, the lead person that's prayed with them, because our service is rolling right on. After everyone sits down, after service, go to them and say, hey, I don't know if you remember, I'm the guy that prayed with you. I'd like to get your cell number, and I'd like to give you a phone call this week and just see how you're doing in your walk with Jesus. That's what we do.
Different.
Yes.
Challenging. So
challenging for sure.
So recap. If people are sitting right now, listening to this and watching this and going, okay, I want to do this. Don't do it this Sunday.
Right.
You got to sell the vision and kind of cast the vision, because I've been here for a while and I've seen it where hand goes up and people aren't moving to go lead them. And
no.
So how do you work that?
Well,
sometimes that happens.
Here's what happened for several years. Because pastors, if you think, oh, I'm going to do this, we'll do a 2-week training
and everyone's going to go rushing
and
in.
everyone's going to rush in and get it. I might have the abnormal church. If you're listening to just the audio, you won't get the full effect. I'll look at the camera. Here is typically what happens. 1, 2, 3. A hand goes up, and this is the look on everyone else's face. All the believers want to suddenly pray, because if they see the hand, now they're accountable. I have to go. It is like a deer in the headlights. It's like...
And pastor's face is like, move. He's
literally
not yelling move to people, but
literally,
he's like...
I'm like, I need a believer over here in the left section. I need a man. I need some men that know how to pray.
Does anybody love Jesus that would like to show the love of Jesus?
Does anybody know how to lead someone to Jesus in the room?
Right here, it's on the screen.
And so, yes, we have those believers that have done it, and they'll go from the second row back to the last row. They'll go from a section to section. That's not optimum. And so, those are the obstacles. This is not, we're going to try this. This is our DNA. This is our culture. This is who we are. We give invitations every single Sunday in every service in both languages. We are aggressive in it. We present the good news. We give them a challenge, and I empower and I refuse. I refuse to lead people to Jesus. As a pastor, as a believer, I'm out in the street. Someone wants prayer in the lobby. Sure, I'm going to pray with them. As a pastor, for the last 10 years, I have refused to lead people to Jesus.
That's a great soundbite. We won't pull that out.
Yeah. I do.
Refusing to lead people to Jesus.
Maybe it's a better title. I refuse to lead people to Jesus because too many people think Christianity is a spectator sport. And they all watch, and it's a little golf clap. Way to go, Pastor. We led 4 to the Lord today. Nice job.
Yeah.
I want them to experience birth.
Well, and I think for the person that raised their hand, when it's not the person from the pulpit behind there preaching the message, behind the Bible, leading them, it's like, hey, you're just like me in the crowd listening, and you led me. And there's no way I as the pastor can follow up on all these people. Mm-hmm. I can't follow up on all these people. So Jesus said, make disciples. Now, I'll tell you, we know it's not a perfect plan of our follow-up and our discipleship. We're still drilling. We're still saying, here is your responsibility. And I think a better word is, this is your privilege. Yep.
This is your privilege. This is your honor to lead someone to Jesus. And I'm telling you, it's better than any drug on the street, because they say crack is highly addictive. I'm telling you, you lead one person to Jesus. If I can get one of my members to lead one person to Jesus, they are hooked. They are addicted to leading somebody to Christ.
I want to say 4 or 5 weeks ago, a person comes up to me, introduced me to someone that they just led to the Lord. And the person, I'm like, I forgot their name, shake their hand. The other person's crying. They were so excited. It wasn't the person that got saved that's crying. It's the other person. It was like, my life has changed. I mean, they were so excited. And it was cool because the other person was like, we're sharing life. I mean, that's what it's all about. We're sharing life and being a part of that.
So here's what I would tell somebody if they're interested. A pastor says, man, I want to go this direction. Is number one, I would teach your staff. I wouldn't be surprised at some of the churches of some of the cities and some of the countries somewhere that you have staff members, people on your leadership, your board, or your elders that have never led someone to Jesus. And so I would teach them, drill this in with your staff, your leaders, in our volunteer appreciation night. Do you remember this one? This was so cool. This was about a year ago. We practice.
The mock draft.
We mock. And so we're doing our big volunteer.
We need half sinners and half people that are saved.
So here's what we did. Volunteer appreciation night. We got a couple hundred people there. And I said, all right, I was given the vision for the night. And I said, all right, remember, everyday ministry by everyday believers. That's our motto.
Say that again.
Everyday ministry by everyday believers.
Love it.
It's not everyday ministry by pastors and staff and spiritual people. It's everyday ministry by everyday leaders. And so that's what it's on our walls in our lobby. And so I was doing that and I said, all right, we are going to practice, because here's what was happening. Once again, I'm more fun if you watch than if you listen, but here's what I'm doing. I'm bowing my head and I'm closing my eyes and I'm laying my hand on Mike's shoulder. Someone would raise their hand to get saved. We'd have 3 guys go lay hands on their shoulder, bow their head, and quietly pray. And I'm like, people are going to hell because you don't know how to lead them to Jesus.
Or the ones that would have just embraced him and hug him.
Yeah.
And the guy standing there stiff as a board looking at the God, if you're real, take me now.
Right.
I've never been hugged by a man before.
But they never led him to Jesus. And
they wouldn't say anything.
And so I said, we're going to practice. And so it's a volunteer appreciation night. And I said, half of you find a friend. One of you start out being the sinner. Go up, introduce yourself. Hi, I'm here to pray with you. We had the prayer up on the screen. Well, one of our elders met a gentleman that was sitting beside him. He didn't know. And he said, and he started going through, are you starting new in your relationship with God? Or do you just need a do-over? Have you accepted Christ before? Yeah. And we lead him in the same prayer, just Jesus be my Lord. And the guy tears start welling up in his eye.
I remember this.
And Matt's like, this is just a rehearsal, but I think maybe God's doing something. And the guy came with his wife, who came every Sunday. He came to the volunteer appreciation night. Because his wife serves. And he came and gave his life to Jesus because we practice leading people to Jesus. So that was awesome. So teach your staff, teach your key leaders, and then teach 2 to 3 Sundays on this about empowering everyday ministry. You're equipped, you're empowered, and you do this ministry. Walk them through how to do this, what discipleship looks like. Have them practice at home. We teach this from children's church to our youth ministry to our adults. This is practice from A to Z. And my hope is in another 10, 15 years, it'll be so ingrained in our children and youth coming up, we won't have those frozen deer stalls that happen.
Well, and if you think about it, people in the crowd, I mean, I think it's a little bit different maybe here because it's been in the culture for a while. The church has been around for 12 years. But for some people, they don't even know they can lead someone to the Lord. They think it's only the pastor that's able to do it. And so that, when you're casting vision, you're going to have to tell them that you're qualified to lead people. It's not because of a special anointed prayer with pixie dust and special anointed hands. You're just saying the sinner's prayer, but it's that person committing their heart and accepting Jesus.
And when I when I stood up and taught this to our church many years ago, and I said, I refuse to lead any more people on a Sunday morning to Jesus, I am not doing it. It made the church go, gulp.
Yeah.
I've always relied on him or her to do it. And so,
but if we're ever going to take the church to the street, we have to empower our people to lead people to Jesus.
So, dude, I think we're running out of time.
Yep.
You guys driving are almost to your destination.
Awesome.
All right. I got to tell them about the Accelerate Leadership Conference coming up. That is coming up September 1st. It's a one-day conference, Thursday, 9 to about 4:30. It's a one-day conference hosted here in Colorado Springs. It's cheap. It's like $50 a person. If the group rate's $35, that includes lunch, the handbook, all the digital downloads. And it's going to be Mike and I, my wife. We're going to be the key leads. We're just going to be sharing some of our
under the hood,
how the nuts and bolts. I'm not a lot of theory guy. I'm a lot of the practical. We're going to be talking about increasing our capacity. Kim and I is going to do a set on navigating marriage and ministry. I'm sure everyone's got it out there, but we had some difficult times and things like that. So it's going to be really practical. But if you can't come, that is the Thursday before Labor Day. If you can't, I encourage you to come, take that weekend off and hang out in beautiful Colorado at the end of summer. If not, we're going to have a live simulcast that is the one day. You won't get some of the breakout sessions. You'll get all the main sessions. That's $75. You can fill up your office, whatever,
your
auditorium or whatever. Have all your leadership come. It'll live stream. It is Mountain Time, and so it'll start at 9 Mountain Time. That's just $75 for your whole church. But I'd love to have you come in person because we like pastors, and we like hanging out with pastors and having fun. So we'll do some things Thursday night, maybe even hang out and do some things Friday. Not that's on the schedule, but play some golf or something. I don't know. Climb Pikes Peak.
Yeah, so sounds like fun.
All right, guys. Until next time, keep thinking outside the box and drawing outside the lines.
Thank you for joining us today. For a free sermon series, teaching outlines, and PowerPoint, visit deanhawk.com. For more information on our Accelerate Leadership Conference or to register, visit us at acceleratepastors.com.